Legacy's core offering provides you, your people, and the enterprise with access to leading and generating sustainable, superior performance.
Prior to working with Legacy, some of the concerns we wanted to really tackle as a team is the question, are we playing big enough? And what will it take to really grow our business and be successful over multiple years?
My concern was that the business needed a breakthrough performance, but that the culture, the mindset, and the vision to achieve that were lacking. It needed a disruptive change, a transformation that would unlock its true potential to achieve that transformation.
Prior to working with Legacy, the major concern I had was that the initial success that we had achieved as a company had come more through brute force of all the individuals than it had really come through a harnessing of the collective strengths of the team. Now, we're physically located in a number of different locations around the world, but beyond that physical constraint, it really felt that we were all working in our own separate corners. So what had gotten us to our initial success was not going to get us to success in the future, because as I was projecting forward as to what expectation would be placed upon my team, and looking at the competitive environment, which had changed drastically in the meantime, it really felt to me that we needed to find a way to fully optimize what I felt were the collective strengths of the team.
About 10 years back, I came back to India to build a world-class product development team. It was an experience, or it was an endeavor that we wanted to undertake and understand, can we build a product creation team in some other part of the world like in India? The challenge I was going through at that time when I first interacted with Legacy was, how do I build a world-class team? It's not about individuals. It's easy to hire individuals that are world caliber. But to build a world-class team that has the power to transform or change the world is another level, another magnitude of the problem.
As a leader brought in to oversee an existing team, my major concern prior to meeting with Legacy was that I was overwhelmed with a disconnected team and not knowing how to pull everyone together and build a vision for the future.
The major concerns that were facing me when I first engaged with Legacy is I had an executive team that was not one team. There was lack of trust, there was lack of discipline, accountability. It was a group of individuals that were part of an executive committee, but clearly not developing a vision and a strategy to execute something that's bigger than each one of them individually. And that was clearly missing. And so I really needed an organization to help me bring that team together. Another concern and commitment I was looking to fulfill on was something disruptive. We needed a jolt in the organization.
We were not performing at the level that we needed to perform at in any of the organizations, and Legacy helped us to do that.
Our coach, he asked us to write down things that we thought was impossible to achieve in 5 years. At that time, we had a good sized team. We had about tens of millions of users. We were happy. When he asked that question, many people said, oh, it will be awesome to have 100 million engaged and happy users. But the question really was, what was impossible? And impossible, we felt, was 1 billion connected users that touch our software. What was transformative for me to learn or realize that in 5 years, we had actually achieved all the impossible statements that we put in that list. And that is truly transformational.
Working with Legacy for us achieved a true transformation, a complete change of culture, mindset, vision, ambition, possibilities that we see, fun, teamwork, and afterwards, nothing is impossible for us anymore.
For me, the result that we achieved by working with Legacy has been remarkable. Essentially what it did for us is it allowed us to create a new kind of language or terminology with each other. And this new terminology has allowed us to be more reliant on each other and to hold each other accountable and to a higher standard than I believe we held each other to prior. And the result has really been exciting. I can see through the team how we hold each other accountable, how we challenge each other, and how we work collectively together to solve problems that I don't feel we were really well placed to solve in the past.
So the result of working with Legacy, my goal was that we would shift our team culture from a situation where everybody believed, I am great, and we as a team are good, to we can change the world. And that's where we got to. I was transformed. My team were transformed individually and collectively. The business was transformed in terms of the results. We blew it out of the park. But most importantly, the external context was transformed.
Once I met the Legacy team, they guided me on developing some breakthrough outcomes, which included designing a future that was unimaginable to me as a leader, and as well, a future that moved, inspired, and touched the staff. So we were able to succeed in the end. And we achieved all of our breakthrough outcomes through the process of working with Legacy. Steve Jobs has said that it's important to be very close to our customers, so close that we know what they want before they do. And that's really how I feel about the Legacy team. They're always anticipating and opening my eyes to new ways of thinking. As prep for the workshop, Organizational Future by Design, each individual in the team had an opportunity to work with a Legacy coach. And in that process, was able to develop an awareness of their inner way of being, their worldview. And just achieving that in itself is life-changing, because you have the opportunity to filter your future with the awareness, the new awareness you have. And you can recognize what your default way of being is and choose whether or not you want to use it. It truly is powerful. It's a powerful impact. And this is what the Legacy team has brought as a gift and a surprise to all of us.
The results that me and my team have achieved by working with Legacy over the last 10 plus years, on the team side, I've seen organizations that were a group of individuals on a team really come together to be a high-performing leadership team. On the business outcomes, the results have been nothing short of remarkable. And I think of the organizations I've been with where there would have been plans in place and the predictable plans were this. After working with Legacy, we've been able to achieve outcomes like this. And this has been extremely powerful and very powerful outcomes that are not just short outcomes, they're sustainable outcomes, which is also something very important to me as well.
The impact that Legacy has had on my people and my team can be captured in one word, and that's transformational. This is one engagement that we have where all my leadership team, who are all very individual, highly intellectual, highly qualified, been to the world-class institutions, they all are willing to do it not only the first time, but second time. Not only the second time, but they are now saying maybe we should re-engage third time. I've never seen such engagement and such desire to re-engage from such a high caliber set of people. First time in my life I have experienced that.
Leaders shape the context around them and are not victims of it. And Legacy enabled us as a team to get to be real leaders.
First time that I worked with Legacy was back in the early 2000s. And we had a business in Canada that had not produced a profit in 10 years. And I was considering closing the business down. And after working with Legacy, within a 12-month period, we made $1 million in that business. So I'd call that a huge success.
Working with Legacy allowed us to redefine how we thought about our own business, to take a few steps back and look at the opportunities we had to not just provide project management capabilities to a slice of a typical enterprise, but to redefine our space. And through that work with Legacy, we expanded the addressable market, the user base we could bring value to, from a small slice in the enterprise to practically every single knowledge worker in the enterprise. And that work allowed us to not just redefine our business and our space, it truly drove a completely new cultural transformation within the organization.
If there's one word I've used to describe the experience we had with Legacy is transformational. It transformed me at a personal level, my team at an aggregate level.
To me, it is about starting something. It's about creating a chemical reaction within the leadership team and acting as this catalyst that made the outcome possible.
The key difference between reading a book or going to some training versus Legacy experience is it's not that Legacy teaches us just a set of tricks or some set of framework, but it really changes your mindset where you can come up with your own framework. You can come up with the right set of tricks.
I've been working with Legacy for almost 10 years on 7 different occasions. And in all of them, without exception, the results were nothing short of remarkable.
I think the thing that surprised me most about the impact Legacy had was that when we embarked on this journey initially, there were a number of people on my team who I would define as very highly skeptical. We've all been through a lot of different leadership training, management development training in our respective careers. And I think for a number of my team, they were looking at this as yet another example of it. And I suppose as well, you would look and say, is this really time well spent, considering all that we have on our plate? And what's really amazed me in the aftermath of this journey we've been on is those highly skeptical colleagues have become the strongest advocates for this kind of training.
My experience working with Legacy is that every interaction, every event, every workshop is a breakthrough. It's typically a personal breakthrough, but also a team breakthrough. I've had experience working with Legacy both on an individual coaching basis as well as with different teams from 2 different organizations that I've worked with. And I've been working with Legacy for 10 years. So as far as I'm concerned, it's an ongoing process and I will work with them forever.
My experience with Legacy has been transformative on many levels, personally, professionally, and for the businesses that I've been working with. On the professional side, it's elevated my leadership capabilities, which I've been able to transfer those to a couple of different organizations and build those high-performing leadership teams and rejuvenate businesses and achieve business outcomes, whether it's a division of a big company or now leading a global company. The Legacy experience has allowed me to achieve results that boards of directors, the street, and other stakeholders never thought we could have achieved.
My experience working with Legacy has been nothing but positive. I've worked with them 4 times in the last 15 years, so I'm obviously seeing the results that I want to see. They have the highest integrity, they focus on outcomes, and they deliver on those outcomes.
Legacy is not bringing any answers. Legacy is not here to fix something. The uniqueness of the experience was how Legacy allowed us to go through that journey together as a leadership team and frankly unlock the potential that we had on the team and that somehow we had not given ourselves the permission to go and unlock.
What's been a very positive outcome for our organization is we see Legacy 2 to 3 levels down within the organization, where teams every year are carving out time and resources to make sure that they can go through the legacy programs themselves because they've seen the profound impact that it's had on their leaders as well as the overall business outcomes. And to watch new leaders go through legacy, it's been really profound to watch these leaders grow and expand in their capabilities and leadership impact.
This legacy experience was recommended from one of my mentors who has been CEO of a large software company where they had experienced transformational impact of this consultancy or this training or this experience. So this person recommended me when I was trying to strive to build a world-class team in a new location far from the headquarters and build a team that can change the world.
Great leaders shape the context around them and are not victims of it. So if you want to foster a transformative environment, then you should work with Legacy. Legacy not only resulted in personal growth of each of us individually, but for those of us who have embraced it, it has continued to inform our approach to how we lead, to how we run our business, and to the impact that we have.
What Legacy offers, at least to me and the organizations I've been involved with, it offers an opportunity for teams to truly become high-performing leadership teams, which is critical because any organization is made up of people and those people have many conversations. So that's really important on the high-performing leadership team. The other thing I think Legacy offers that's extremely important is it allows that organization to unleash its true potential.
Working with Legacy, to be honest, in the beginning, we didn't really know what to expect. We thought it was just another training until we really went through it as a team. And it was, I would say, nothing less than a life-altering way of working together. It was disturbing, but in a positive way.
I have frequently and often recommended Legacy experience for other teams. And there are two types of teams I would say where I end up recommending. One is when there is a new team coming together, new set of people trying to create something new, a new organization, new team. And that was my first experience that I brought in Legacy for when I was trying to form a world-class team. There, the benefit I quote from this engagement is that the team, the leadership team, gets to create a new language that they can interact, a language that is generative, and that I think is one of the key benefits. The second benefit I articulate is the trust that the leadership team ends up being at the end of the training. They really trust each other. And the third would be that they all are now bought into a vision that is transformational, that is many order of magnitude bigger in aspiration than what they initially came back, that they will start with. And that's the reason I recommend for the new teams. The second class of teams that I recommend is a little bit more older teams, or they are all doing fine, life is great. How do you wake them up to a possibility of something that they have never thought of? So one of the being or distinction that Legacy touches upon is inquiry. A lot of times when things are going great, everybody is happy, nobody really knows what they don't know. So what Legacy does is basically brings a new way of thinking. Okay, we don't know what we don't know. How do you get into the space of the possibilities that we never even imagined because we just don't know what we don't know? And that inquiry method is just transformational.
The VP of HR at the time at Bombardier Business Aircraft recommended that I work with the Legacy team. I had just become director of flight operations, and I was dealing with a team that was full of past stories, constraints, cynicism, anger, frustration, you name it. We were located away from the head office in a different location, and I could have used all the support I could get. When the coaching was completed, I emerged as a new leader that was ready to focus on facts, not stories, and next steps. In the end, our work together allowed us to work with the organization to put the past behind us and design a future that all individuals were excited, moved, touched, ready to work on.
When I first discussed legacy with a colleague, I actually share with them my personal example. I think it's the most effective way and it's the most authentic way. And in 2007, it's the first time I engaged with legacy. And the situation was this, is I was in Montreal, Canada, as a CEO for Novartis Canada. And after about 45 days, I shared this insight with my boss. And what I shared with my boss was, we have an organization with double-digit potential, but a single-digit vision and mindset. And unless that is disrupted, we're never going to achieve that double-digit potential. And that's when I heard about Legacy, and I had my first conversation with Legacy explaining my situation. And after that, I engaged with Legacy, and I went through Legacy for the first time along with my team, and the results were almost instant of how we came together as a team for the very first time in my experience.
Legacy was recommended to me by a friend, a colleague at the time. He was running an organization at Microsoft, and he recommended working with the Legacy organization to help us not only understand who we were as people, who we were as leaders as part of that leadership team, but to build together an organizational future that we simply couldn't achieve organically through our day-to-day interactions. Legacy was a way for us to take a step back and realize our potential as a leadership team. And most importantly, I don't think it would have been possible for me to realize how much could have been achieved and was achieved as a result of working with Legacy.
They have the highest integrity, they focus on outcomes, and they deliver on those outcomes.
Make your legacy count as an organization, you as a board member, you as an executive, you as a manager, you as an employee, you as a human being. Want to make your legacy count? Want to talk? Get in touch.